Okay, hey Gabor, how are you?
Pretty darn good. Can you hear me?
Great.
Yeah, good. So, I took your words to heart to balance the work. So I decided to put an empty piece of, there's no work in there.
Nice.
To say, unfortunately, that is not the case. So, once again, thank you very much for having me here. I was asked by you, Lou, to tell the story of startup to exit, and so I will first do a little timeline and also give you content on that, and then of course dive into the main learnings and what I think is important. And maybe if a question would arise in the course of my 10 minutes, and I'm more than happy to answer. So the first thing, to my background, we started a management consulting company, which is very interesting and very good to have because we are focused on the energy sector and infrastructure, and so we always get good ideas of what could be and should be done. However, there's a big difference between consulting and actually doing it as an entrepreneur. As a consulting, you are kind of like a perpetual smart ass, like always knowing everything better, but not having to do it. And then once you start your own company and actually getting involved and putting your finances and your money where your mouth is, it all changes quite a bit. As we all know. And so our coming from was to look at emission targets. And as we all know, CO2 emissions have to be lowered, general emissions have to be lowered. And we have made quite a bit headways here in Germany with renewable energies and for the energy sector. But the transport sector didn't really got any emission reduction for the most time. And that is quite a pity because it cannot be just one sector. It's all nice and well to have renewable energy being good, but the transport also needs to lower emissions because it has about 20% of CO2 emissions. And also the transport sector, 5% of the vehicles are heavy-duty trucks and ships on river ships, but they account for about 30% of emissions. So in 2015, we decided to have a look at that and what technology is available and which way we could do. And so, we were looking at different technologies and did a roadmap on what could happen until 2030 in terms of emission reduction in the transport sector. And so we founded a company which would replace diesel. So us being infrastructure guys, we decided to actually build stations. Stations of all alternative fuel to any oil-based product. So we would not sell diesel of any type, but we will do whatever is technologically available and economically feasible. And so at the time being, that is LNG, liquefied natural gas. So we actually started to build LNG stations. So we did a concept and did the seed investments ourselves and got an A round in 2016. We raised about, I believe, 3 million euros in 2016, and then started permitting and procurement. And I may say that if I look back at what we did back then, well, we are always getting a big smile in our face. So we didn't really know what we were doing. We thought we are very smart, but we didn't really, of course, until 2019 when we started our operation. And so in 2020, after 4 full years of operation, we had a full profit, for the full year profit, and had 8 stations up and running. At the end of this year, it will be 21. Next year, 40, and by 2025, it will be 100 stations. We are market leader in Germany, actually being bigger than Shell, which is number 2 being Shell. So it's quite nice. A bunch of guys out of the little office deciding to become a market leader in alternative fuel and transport. In addition to building our stations, we also decided to go ahead according to our strategy and turn from available, what we call gray LNG of today, into bio LNG. So with a CO2 intensity of 0. So it will basically be mostly waste and manure-based gas being used in the transport sector, so there will be no emissions whatsoever. And we also decided to go in the marine business So we are chartering a seagoing ship and start bunkering cruise ships, ferries, and so on and so forth. So the business is really accelerating quite a bit from year to year. Looking at our shareholderships from the A round in 2016, we also decided that in order to keep up our accelerated growth, we should maybe get one but big shareholder into our company. And so this year we are quite happy. We sold 90% to a huge international resource trader called Vitol. And so we now have all the financing, all resources available. They especially also brought a lot of know-how to the table in terms of trading, swapping. I mean, if you are looking at hydrogen, at bioenergy, at EV, like electric vehicles, there's so much to play. Our offering now starts to include also equipment, let's say, to the city of Berlin. We would give them electric buses and the charging points and the renewable electricity all in one hand starting next year or in 2 years. So we really are out there to reduce the emissions and the transport sector. And our goal is to help to reduce that by 2030 here in Germany by 50%. So that's our main goal. That's how we got started. I have to say our exit was okay. We were quite happy with that. For how do we got there? Every 6 months or so, I thought we won't make it. I mean, building infrastructure means you have to buy equipment. It's like 1.5, 2 million. And every time we thought that we just secured financing, 2 months later, again, we knew we need more. So it was a constant rush for funding. So the challenges change from knowing how to do permitting, knowing how to procure proper equipment, getting the financing in place, finding customers. All of us know those challenges. There's a constant change of challenges. All I can say is just stay committed and dedicated. Have your goal, go after them, and just work hard enough. That, of course, needs to be done by a team. Lou, you pointed it out. Team is, I think, the most important to get where you want to get to, and be prepared to fight. Like I would say, every 6 months, once a year, you think it won't be possible to continue. You will always find a solution. Like it's good to get scared. It keeps you on your toes, but there's always a solution to every problem. So that is basically, in short, our story here of decarbonizing transport sector in Europe. The outlook, we go European. We now start to do M&A activities ourselves by trying to partner with other companies, buying majorities and other European providers of alternative fuels, tackling different parts of the world in terms of the marine business. So growth. By 2025, we hope to have 500 million revenue as a company and be one of the largest players, at least in Europe. So much my story from startup to exit.
Sure, that's quite a story for just a few minutes, Gabor. Thank you very much for giving us some insights into all of that. I had a good smile on my face a couple of times, and as I'm sure many of the audience also did. Thank you very much for taking time out of your, what I can imagine, crazy schedule out in Berlin to spend some time with us.